Right now, I want you to do something for me. Pull up one pant leg. Look at the lower part of your calf, right where your sock has been sitting all day. Do you see a line? A dent pressed into the skin? Run your finger across it. If that groove is still there after 30 seconds, if it takes a full minute or even longer before the skin flattens out again, do not scroll past this video, because that mark is not from your sock. It is not from eating too much salt. And despite what nearly every adult over 60 has heard at some point from a doctor, in roughly 70% of cases, it has nothing to do with your heart. What you are looking at is a drainage failure, and the system responsible is one that most physicians never take the time to explain properly. Right now, as you sit here, there is fluid collecting in your lower legs. It could be half a liter, it could be more, quietly pooling in the tissue around your ankles and calves since this morning. And here is the part that affects your entire night. When you lie down later, that trapped fluid is going to shift back into your bloodstream all at once. It will disrupt your sleep, put unnecessary strain on your heart, and make every other health concern you are managing just a little bit worse. I am going to walk you through exactly what is happening inside your ankle, and then I will show you a simple 5-minute routine that clears that fluid before you go to bed. I'm Dr. Dan Carter. We are building this channel toward 100,000 subscribers, and every single person who hits that button helps push this information in front of someone who genuinely needs it but has no idea where to find it. Let me describe the experience, because I know you recognize it. You walk through the front door at the end of the day, you kick off your shoes, and you look down at ankles that are visibly thicker than they were this morning. Your calves feel heavy, almost stiff. The ring on your finger, that slid on easily at 7 a.m., now refuses to budge. You press your thumb into the skin just above the ankle bone and watch it leave a small crater that sits there, white and stubborn, for what feels like forever. You get up off the sofa after sitting for an hour, and your legs feel as though someone filled them with wet sand when you were not paying attention. And when you bring this up at your next appointment, what do you get? A question about your heart, a suggestion to reduce sodium, a prescription for a diuretic, a water pill that sends you to the bathroom every 45 minutes, and for a handful of people, it provides some relief. For the majority of people over 60, it barely makes a difference. Here is why. The fluid was never sitting in your bloodstream to begin with. It was trapped in your tissues, and a diuretic cannot access tissues. It can only draw water out of blood, which means you have been medicating the wrong system entirely. Let me set that straight. Your body operates two separate drainage networks, not one. Most people are only aware of the first, blood. Arteries pushing oxygenated blood outward, veins pulling used blood back. That system has a built-in engine, your heart. It beats on its own, every second, whether you do anything to help it or not. The second network is your lymphatic system, and this is the part that no one has ever properly sat you down and walked you through. It has no engine, no pump, nothing driving it automatically. Lymph is a pale, almost clear fluid that continuously seeps out of your smallest blood vessels into the surrounding tissue. It washes over your cells, collects waste, dead bacteria, leftover proteins, and excess water. Then it has to travel back to the bloodstream through an entirely separate set of channels called lymph capillaries and lymph ducts. About 2 liters of it every single day. But those lymph channels do not have a heart powering them. They only move when your body moves. Picture your lymph system like a manual water pump at an old well. Nothing comes up unless you work the handle. Each step you take, each time your calf muscle tightens, each flex of your ankle acts like a pump stroke, pushing lymph fluid upward through those channels. The moment you stop moving, the pump stops. Sit still for 3 hours and the fluid simply collects in the lowest point it can find, your ankles. When you are 30, this is a minor inconvenience at most. The lymph vessels are flexible and responsive. The tiny one-way valves inside them seal tightly. One quick walk across a parking lot and the whole system kicks back into gear within minutes. After 60, 3 things shift at the same time. The lymph vessels lose their flexibility. The internal valves start to fail, allowing fluid to slip backward. And the connective tissue surrounding your ankles, the framework that holds everything in its proper shape, begins to loosen. Fluid escapes into the tissue faster, and the drainage system clears it more slowly. The balance tips, and the swelling grows a little more each day. Before I continue, I need to stop here and be direct with you. There are specific situations where ankle swelling is not a lymph issue. It is a medical emergency. I need you to be able to recognize these, Pause this video and contact a physician today if any of these apply. One leg balloons up significantly more than the other over the course of a few hours, and it is painful, hot, and red. That can be a sign of a deep vein blood clot. It is serious. Get evaluated today. Both legs swell and you are struggling to breathe, particularly when lying flat. You wake up in the night gasping for air. You cannot make it up a flight of stairs without resting. That pattern suggests your heart is under more strain than early-stage management can handle. That is not a home situation. Swelling accompanied by rapid weight gain, 4 to 5 pounds within a single week, along with foamy or frothy urine. That combination points to the kidneys losing protein they should be keeping. That requires lab work this week. Swelling isolated to one side, painless, firm to the touch, in a person who has previously undergone cancer treatment in that area, may indicate a blockage in the lymph nodes that needs clinical assessment. If none of those apply to you, if your swelling is gradual, appears roughly equal on both sides, worsens as the day goes on, improves after a night in bed, and you have no difficulty breathing at rest, then what I am about to explain was made for you. There are fundamentally 3 patterns of chronic lower leg swelling in adults over 60. They can look almost identical from the outside, but come from completely different sources. Pattern 1 is venous. The veins in your legs are having difficulty returning blood to the heart. Internal valves have weakened or failed. Blood backs up, pressure builds, and water gets pushed through the vessel walls into surrounding tissue. You will typically notice visible varicose veins, a brownish staining on the skin of the shin just above the ankle, and swelling that intensifies dramatically after a day on your feet. Pattern 2 is lymphatic. This is the one we are focused on today. Lymph circulation has slowed to the point where tissue becomes waterlogged. The swelling feels soft, almost spongy. It leaves a visible pit when you push into it. It tends to feel puffy rather than tight and often extends across the top of the foot, the area just behind the toes. When lymph-related swelling has persisted for a long time, the skin on the top of the foot thickens so much that you cannot pinch it between 2 fingers. That finding is a clinical marker, and it points very strongly at lymph rather than veins. Pattern 3 is cardiac or renal. The heart or the kidneys are struggling to manage fluid volume. The swelling is symmetrical, worsens through the day, and critically, it comes with other symptoms. Difficulty breathing, waking multiple times at night to urinate, profound fatigue, rapid unexplained weight gain. If those symptoms are present alongside the swelling, you are in pattern 3 territory, and that needs a proper medical workup, not a home protocol. The majority of people over 60 who experience chronic evening ankle swelling without those accompanying symptoms fall into pattern 2. Lymph. Let me tell you about a man I will call Frank, 71 years old, retired postal worker, lived in the same neighborhood in Ohio for most of his adult life. He showed up at a clinic completely convinced his heart was giving out. His story was straightforward. Over the past 2 years, his ankles had been gradually thickening by the evening. At first, he barely noticed. Then it got to the point where his usual work boots no longer fit. He bought a wider pair. The swelling kept progressing. He mentioned it during a routine visit. His doctor ordered an echocardiogram, an ultrasound of the heart. The results came back normal. Ejection fraction, the percentage of blood the heart pushes out with each beat, measured at 60%. Perfectly healthy. But Frank was still swelling. He was put on a diuretic. He took it faithfully for 5 months. He spent half his day walking to the bathroom. The ankle swelling barely changed. He was tired, constantly thirsty, and still puffy by sundown. Then he said something to me that made everything click. He said, "The strange thing, Doc, is that when I go visit my son in Denver and we spend all day walking around, my ankles are actually fine. It is when I am home sitting that they blow up." That was the key. His swelling improved with movement. His swelling worsened with stillness. His heart was healthy. His kidneys checked out. His veins showed nothing beyond mild age-related wear. What Frank had was a lymphatic drainage problem, and no pill on earth could solve it, because the fluid was not sitting in his blood, it was sitting in his tissues. Here is what happens inside Frank's body every day, and very likely yours. He wakes up. His ankles look normal. He has been horizontal for 8 hours. Gravity was not forcing fluid downward, and his lymph system had the entire night to slowly clear out the backlog from the day before. By morning, he is close to baseline. He gets up, makes breakfast, sits at the kitchen table for an hour, drives to the hardware store, sits in the car for 20 minutes, comes home, watches a couple of hours of television, has lunch, sits some more. By mid-afternoon, he has been upright but mostly stationary for 7 hours. Fluid has been steadily leaking from his capillaries into the tissue of his lower legs the entire time. His calf muscles have barely engaged. The lymph pump has barely worked. The fluid just accumulates, quietly, a teaspoon at a time, into a reservoir he cannot see. By evening, the groove from his socks appears. By 9 at night, his wedding ring is uncomfortably tight. By 10, he lies down, and now the real trouble begins. All that pooled fluid in his ankles, no longer held down by gravity, begins to slowly reabsorb into his bloodstream. His heart receives a sudden increase in volume. His kidneys sense the extra load and kick into high gear, producing urine. He wakes up at 1:30 in the morning, again at 3, again at 5. By 6, he is exhausted, and the cycle starts over. 2 quick tests. Right now, 30 seconds total. Test 1, the pit test. Find the bony edge along the front of your shin, about 4 inches above your ankle. Press your thumb in firmly. Hold it there for 15 seconds. Remove your thumb and look. If you see a visible dent that takes 10 seconds or longer to fill back in, you have what doctors call pitting edema. Grade 1 is a faint impression. Grade 2 is a deeper dent that lasts longer. Grade 3 is a deep pit that stays for over a minute. Take note of where you fall. You are going to repeat this test in 2 weeks, and the difference will be measurable. Test 2, the foot skin pinch. Try to pinch the skin on the top of your foot, just behind your second toe, between your thumb and index finger. If the skin lifts easily into a fold, your lymph is circulating. If you cannot lift the skin at all, if it feels glued to the tissue underneath, you are dealing with a more advanced level of lymphatic congestion. This is known as a positive stemmer sign, and it is one of the simplest and most reliable clinical markers of chronic lymph backup that exists. 3 everyday habits that make lymph swelling worse. Most people over 60 do all 3 without giving it a thought. The first is hidden sodium. I am not talking about the salt shaker on the table. I am talking about the sodium buried inside everyday foods. Cheese, deli meats, canned soup, bread, condiments, takeout, frozen dinners. Sodium draws water out of your blood vessels and into your tissues. Your body retains roughly 4 cups of extra water for every gram of excess sodium. Most people over 60 are consuming double the sodium they believe they are. The second is sitting after dinner. The hours between 7 and 10 at night, the time most people finally settle into the recliner or the couch, are the hours when your legs accumulate the most fluid. 3 hours of immobility following your largest meal of the day creates the worst possible setup for what happens when you lie down. The third is alcohol. Even a single glass of wine in the evening opens up your capillaries, increases the rate at which fluid leaks from vessels into tissue, and suppresses the hormone your brain relies on to tell your kidneys to slow urine production at night. 1 drink and your ankles will be noticeably worse the next morning. Now, the other side. Things that actively support lymph movement. Water. I know this sounds backwards. Most people with swelling cut back on water because they assume more water equals more swelling. The opposite is actually true. When you are dehydrated, your lymph becomes thick and sluggish, harder for the system to push through. When you are properly hydrated, lymph stays thin and flows freely. A good target is roughly half your body weight in ounces, spread evenly through the day, tapering off after about 5 in the afternoon. Foods rich in natural flavonoids, compounds that reinforce the walls of small blood vessels and reduce the rate at which they leak. The best everyday sources are dark berries, buckwheat, citrus peel, and red cabbage. 1 cup of berries daily has been shown to produce measurable improvements in capillary strength over about 8 weeks. Protein. This one catches people off guard. Low levels of blood protein, specifically albumin, are one of the quiet drivers of tissue swelling in older adults. Albumin is the protein that keeps water inside your blood vessels where it belongs. When albumin drops, water seeps out into the surrounding tissue and stays there. A surprising number of older adults are mildly protein deficient and do not realize it. 2 servings of quality protein per day, eggs, fish, chicken, lentils, cottage cheese, directly shifts the fluid balance in your favor. Magnesium. Most people over 60 are low in it. Magnesium plays a role in smooth muscle tone, including the walls of your lymph vessels. Pumpkin seeds, dark leafy greens, and almonds are the easiest food-based sources. Now, the 5-minute routine that drains your ankles before bed. This is the centerpiece of everything I have told you today. Every step matters. Morning. Before your feet touch the floor, while you are still lying in bed, do 30 ankle pumps. Point your toes away from you, then flex them back toward your face. 30 repetitions. It takes about 45 seconds. This restarts lymph circulation after 8 hours of stillness and stops the fluid from rushing into your lower legs the instant you stand up. Daytime. Every hour that you are seated, do 20 calf pumps. Keep your heels flat on the floor and pump your toes upward and back down. If you are able to stand, rise up onto the balls of your feet and lower yourself back down 20 times. This takes 30 seconds. It keeps the manual pump working throughout the day so fluid never gets the chance to build up. Set a reminder on your phone if that helps. Before dinner, 5 minutes of easy walking, not exercise, just movement, around the block, through the house, around the yard. Walking engages the deep calf muscles in a way that seated ankle movements simply cannot replicate. Evening, about 90 minutes before bed. This is the most important piece. Lie on the floor or on your bed and place your legs straight up against a wall, roughly at a 90-degree angle. Your heels above your hips above your heart. Stay in that position for 15 minutes. During those 15 minutes, do slow ankle circles, 10 in each direction. Then, alternating ankle flexes, 20 total. After that, while your legs are still elevated, place both hands flat on your stomach and breathe deeply through your nose. Let your belly rise with each inhale. Do this for 3 minutes. Slow, deep belly breathing activates the thoracic duct, the central drainage vessel of your entire lymph system, which sits directly behind your diaphragm. Every deep breath is physically pumping lymph fluid back toward your bloodstream. After 15 minutes, slowly roll to one side, sit up, and do one more thing that is not glamorous but genuinely effective. Starting at your ankle, use the flat of your fingers to stroke the skin upward toward your knee. Slow, gentle, always toward the heart, never downward. 10 strokes on each leg. This is a simplified version of what clinicians call manual lymphatic drainage, and it physically guides fluid out of the tissue and into the lymph channels. Shortly after completing the sequence, you will feel the urge to urinate. You will pass roughly 300 to 400 ml of pale urine. That is the fluid that would otherwise have woken you at 2 in the morning. You just moved it out while you were still awake and in control. Frank followed this routine for 3 weeks. By the end of week 1, his sock marks were gone by morning. By the end of week 2, he stopped waking up during the night. By the end of week 3, his ankles at 9 in the evening looked the way they used to look at 9 in the morning. His echocardiogram had not changed. His prescriptions had not changed. What changed was that his lymphatic system was finally being given the activation it needed at a time that worked with his life, instead of being left to catch up all night while he tried to sleep. 5 things I want you to do tonight. 1. Do the PIT test right now. Identify your grade. Write it down or take a photo. 2. Tomorrow, eliminate one source of hidden sodium. For most people, the biggest offenders are cheese, deli meat, or canned soup. Choose whichever one you eat most often and replace it for 2 weeks. 3. Before dinner tonight, take a 5-minute walk. Not after dinner, before. 4. 90 minutes before bed, legs up the wall for 15 minutes. Deep belly breathing for 3 of those minutes. When you sit up, 10 gentle upward strokes on each calf. 5. Tomorrow morning, 30 ankle pumps before your feet touch the floor. Commit to this for 2 weeks. Then repeat the PIT test. You will be surprised at what you see. One last thing before you go. I want to hear 2 things from you. How old are you? Drop your age in the comments. The age of this audience directly shapes which topics I focus on next, and I want to make sure I am speaking to the people who are actually here. And second, where are you watching from? Your city, your state, your country? Leave it below. I want to see how far this conversation is reaching because it helps me understand where this kind of information is needed most. And if there is someone in your life whose ankles swell by evening, send them this video. They have almost certainly been told it is a heart problem. They have almost certainly been given a pill that does not address what is actually going on. You might be handing them the explanation that no one else has bothered to give. Your ankles are not failing you. They are attached to a drainage system that has simply stopped receiving the signals it needs to operate. Give it 5 minutes a day, and the change is not subtle. It is the kind of difference you notice in the mirror. feel in your shoes, and recognize the first morning you wake up without reaching down to press your thumb into your calf just to check. I'm Dr. Dan Carter. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.